we need men? Most answered very quickly, no.
Because men are useless.
This headline from The Hill, it caught my eye. Most young men are single. Most young women are not.
Young men have fallen faster than any demographic in America over the last 40 years.
It's a different world now. Like, we don't need men the way that they used to.
Nobody needs men!
The future is female.
Men and women are drifting further apart, and society is crumbling because of it.
A fascinating debate has broken out about the value of marriage.
You've kind of got the trad-con versus red pill thing.
This men's rights crowd that sometimes just goes too far the other way.
You need to stop acting like grown boys and infants and actually become men.
Marriage is a bond, and it's a sacred bond.
It's a machine designed to extract resources from you.
Now many of the red-pilled have taken the position that it's bad for men to get married.
Hannah Pearl Davis, or just Pearly things.
One of the most controversial faces in all of the internet.
She goes on to say that marriage is a terrible deal for men.
Because if me and you were in a business contract, you would never sign a contract where I am paid to leave.
Gee, what could go wrong there?
74% or something of divorces are initiated by women. Men have everything to lose, primarily their own children.
Men get killed by the courts and by divorce laws.
I had no idea that courts of family law were courts of equity, not courts of law.
Because in family court, you don't need evidence to accuse someone of abuse. You need no evidence. When you guys say get married young, a lot of these men don't know what they're signing up for, and you're not going to be there when their entire life falls apart. I interview them on the other side.
I didn't meet my son until he was 15 months old.
How much did you spend trying to get him back?
On legal fees alone was about $200,000.
Before you know it, you're homeless. You're literally just thrown out onto the street.
We absolutely reinforce bad behavior from women.
Wives are taught to leave their husbands, and then daughters grow up without their fathers.
Family is the foundation of the society.
Every problem in society comes from single mother homes.
A lot of women will just chase this negative rabbit hole of happiness, endless happiness.
Feminism's biggest failures is it lies to women. We tell women to date as many guys as possible. We tell them to put off family into marriage.
You are allowed to leave your perfect husband. You are allowed to end a relationship with a really great boyfriend.
Oh, freeze your eggs, have an abortion. What? You're evil.
I don't think there's anything else in life that we actually ever go into preparing to fail. Right. Like if you have the mentality of this is going to go wrong and be pessimistic, naturally the outcome is going to be that it's going to fail anyway. Yeah. It's self-sabotage. And that's the thing, like women are so willing to leave marriages because they're not happy. This is not about happiness. The most important thing is the children. And the problem is we have a modern society where it's me, my feelings, leave when I feel like it, instead of doing what's best for the kids.
This myth that we live in an age of male privilege. Where's my male privilege?
They think, well, men have all the rights. They have all the power.
Privileged patriarchal system that we have.
Why doesn't our society care about men's rights?
I have no friends, no wife, and no social life.
Men are alone in this situation. Men are homeless. Men are thinking about eating guns.
I've seen so many men on the brink of suicide, and they didn't do anything wrong.
How are you equal if the men are the ones that have to fight and die to defend the country? The men are the ones that build and maintain all the infrastructure.
Women are helplessly dependent upon men.
The so-called deaths of despair from suicide, overdose, or alcohol, 3 times higher among men than among women.
Culture is telling men you are no good.
You got to get your act together.
I think men have failed themselves.
What kind of a man are you? What kind of a woman are you going to attract?
If men are in trouble, so are women.
Everybody knows this is a huge problem, but nobody wants to admit it.
Every single woman at the table said they wanted a man.
500K.
500K.
300K.
300K.
200K.
Am I crazy?
Everything is really set up against you to fail as a man.
If men make less than women, women don't want to marry them.
So you know who wants more economically and emotionally viable men? Women.
I don't want to be an independent woman anymore.
I don't want to be a strong, independent woman.
I'm over it.
When is it going to be my turn?
Where are we meeting the men that don't stop?
I can't keep having these same conversations.
The only simp here is you, Pearl. You simp for men.
I think you simp for women.
She's a provocateur. She says stupid stuff, but Pearl is right about this.
It's already happening. It's just not out in the open yet.
Now it's just hookup culture is going to be our fairy tale ending because men don't want a wife and women can't find a husband. The future, if everybody follows your path, is there is no future.
We go into population decline, and our economy goes into decline.
Civilization will crumble.
The American story does not end well. This is an existential crisis, failing young men.
What up, guys?
guys, welcome to the Audacity Network and welcome to another episode of Pearl Daily. If you guys want, feel free to donate to that trailer. It's the divorce documentary and the GoFundMe link in the bio. We're at $31,000, almost $32,000 raised for it. Woo! Once we get to around 100K, we can hire a full production team and get the movie done. But as you know, they have demonetized me. They have kicked me off. I've gone through 8 TikToks, either 3 or 4 Instagrams, and I was demonetized on YouTube, all because I tried to tell the truth about the divorce issue. But they scream at you. I'll tell you what, feminists do not want the truth about marriage getting out. All right, so today we are reacting to part 2 of the Candace Owens debate on Jubilee. Or as you guys know, Candace Owens, I like Candace Owens. I think she's got some good ideas. However, she's just as feminist as any woman is, you know. I hate to say it because I guess on paper, like every woman is a feminist to some degree because it's 2025, baby, you know. You can't really there's no such thing as a traditional woman in 2025. It's just women cosplaying. And anybody that's trying to sell themselves as that or market it differently is lying to you and trying to sell you something. I had this issue when I went on Michael Knowles' show. So as you guys know, I went on the Michael Knowles show and I had a debate with him. That was like, I don't know why I was so nervous when I did that debate. I don't like, I never know when I'm going to be ambushed, and he actually didn't. Very nice guy. But I just, the same as Candace Owens, I don't think they're very honest about what they're doing. Because what is feminism at its core? Feminism is a strategy because women did not want to be saddled down with betas. That's really what it is at its core. Women don't want to reproduce with beta men. They don't want to have children with beta men. It's nature correcting itself. For most of history, 10-20% of men reproduced. Women are fighting tooth and nail to get rid of monogamy. Women don't want it. The men said, don't you want a guy to love you and treat you right? And the women said, hell no. And the men said, let's do arranged marriages. You know, your dad's going to pick out a guy for you. You're going to get some resources. We'll trade you for a donkey or something. We got a dowry going on. And the women said, no, I want to sell my butthole on OnlyFans. Because what do women value? Women want to hook up with hot men that are out of their league. Women want to prolong marriage as long as possible in order to stick the landing with the best guy they possibly can. And women want to hook up with hot guys. And women want ultimate freedom. Women want to hook up with the hot guys and not have the responsibility of getting on his program. That's why women worship women like Kim Kardashian. Because Kim Kardashian has the ultimate freedom. She gets to do whatever she wants, when she wants. She still is good looking enough. She can hook up with hot guys. And she keeps getting commitment to some degree from high level men, no matter how bad of a 304 she is. And that's the feminist dream, truly. So, my question is to all the women that say they're special and different. I did not say I am. Why didn't you marry your high school sweetheart? So I go on these shows, right? And I just keep getting this pushback. Like, why don't I just find a good, why do you tell men, they call me a doomer, right? They call me a doomer, a gloomer. And they say, why don't you tell men to get married? Marriage makes men happy. That's what they tell me. Children make men happy. And the reason I don't say that, it's not because, I'm against marriage necessarily. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I personally think it's out of place for me or any YouTuber to tell you what to do with your life. I don't know, you could be a Chad. And who am I to tell you to put down your rotation of women? You could be a Brad. You could be an average guy. You could be an ugly guy. Maybe marriage isn't even on the table for you. But it's mostly because I've done interviews and I get emails. So this guy, he sent me his marriage story, and he said, Pearl, I am unique in that I asked God to show me who my wife was, and still the playbook was used on me. I'll keep it simple, but basically God told me who my wife was. I met her at a church, and when asked for confirmation from my pastor, I was told to leave it at the altar. I was eventually kicked out of the church, and this was before social media, so this made the situation impossible. She eventually called me, and we were married 18 days later. I'm leaving out details to save time, but we were married for 5 years. She left, and I was served with an order of protection. I was forced to divorce her, so I'm part of the 20% of men who file, but in response to her legal actions and finding prayers in her journals claiming she would eventually be with another man. My attorney worked for free for 11 years defending me against all of her nonsense, but eventually I no longer had it in me to fight, and I gave her what she wanted, me completely removed from her life and my children's life. I was basically homeless, living with a random man I met on Craigslist when God moved me to Nebraska, and it rebuilt my life far better than it ever was. I stumbled upon your content years ago, and it was confirmed that I make the right decision. For that, I want to thank you, but I also want to point out that you can vet and pick a church woman, but it doesn't matter. I don't know why God put me with her knowing what was going to happen. It's a question I think about every day, but I do know if it wasn't for God, I wouldn't have gotten the healing. I needed to crawl into a bottle and never look back. I think about Joseph being sold into slavery and then eventually going to prison before being put in charge of the known world. He went nearly 20 years and never saw his family again. So in time, we will see what God's plan was. So yeah, men get, I met another guy, right? Terrence, who's on the show. And he said that he had all these factors that he looked for in a woman. Under like 30, had no debt, stable job, married parents. And he had a whole list, right? Not fat. And his wife killed his dog. She literally murdered his dog. And the truth is, you don't know who someone is until you've seen them with power. And I've seen women better than me, like women that I would consider, in all intents and purposes, just better people than me. You know, I would say they're probably nicer, more helpful, more, you know, like where I just sit there, more feminine, they married younger, and I'm like, wow, you have it all. And the next time I see them, they're telling me they were abused. So people love to blame God. Look, I'm not saying to blame God or don't blame God. I'm just saying that frame is going to be far more helpful. Learning to not be afraid of women is going to be a lot more helpful than finding a good woman. Okay. So now we're going to react to Candace's claim. Where do I want to start? Okay. Candace Owens versus one conservative versus 20 feminists.
Might have to come back to you.
Oh, sorry. I forgot to finish a thought before I go. So Candace Owens, she markets herself as special, different, but like none of these women, very few marry before 30, right? Or before 25 at that. And usually if they do marry young, they delay the kids. And if they do have kids, they're still, like, you know, Brett Cooper's having a kid, but she just accepted Fox and Friends. Do you know what I mean? And they keep saying, well, I get to work from home and be an influencer. Well, as an influencer, you still, like, you're not supposed to have leverage. Like, you can leverage your audience against your husband. You can get potential suitors through your social media. You draw attention away from your husband, you know, and I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I don't care. But it's not what they're selling. And I think women especially, they do this for long enough, and we just kind of start to believe our own bullshit. We really do. And that's what I see with Candace is, you know, she's kind of gotten to market herself like this for so long. I actually think the veil, the mask is kind of coming off because she keeps getting called out and cooked over this. But all right, let's continue. Oh, but she also pushed off marriage in order to get a very attractive husband, right? Very good looking guy, worth like $250 million. She said no to her high school sweetheart, no to her college sweetheart, no to whoever the hell she dated in her 20s. And she said, I will not settle until I get a Chad worth $1 bajillion. And hey, you won the game, Chica. You won. But we're not going to we got to call this for what it is. Okay.
Hi, Candace. Owens. I'm Paris.
Very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So can I explain to you why I believe we live in a patriarchy and why I believe we live in a society that's preferential to men? So I'm going to use the example of male violence. There's a lot of places I can look, but we're going to talk about that. 81% of women have been sexually assaulted. 1 in 6 have been raped. 1 in 4 women are the victims of domestic violence. 98% of perpetrators of rape and sexual assault are men. 95% of perpetrators of domestic violence are men. In regards to human trafficking, 70% of human trafficking victims are women. So we're seeing a very clear issue of men being violent towards women. And then when we look at the way that our government handles that, 1 out of 3 rapes go reported. And then out of the ones that go reported, 7% end in jail time. So if we're looking at that and we're looking at the fact that our government doesn't really get that worried about male violence.
Well, so what I would say is, going back to biological differences, men are naturally inclined more towards aggression than women are. So I am not shocked by
Feminism right there. Men are naturally more inclined towards aggression than women. Can you imagine if women had the strength of men? Hell no. Women are far more aggressive. Not even close. Women have murdered. You believe abortion is murder, right? They have murdered 1/8 of the world population. You know the most dangerous place you could be? It's not in a room full of men, like if men were so violent. It's in your mother's womb.
By you telling me, it's, even if you looked at, like I said, male on male crime, you would see that there are more instances of men killing other men than there are instances of women killing other women. And that, I think, actually speaks to our biological differences, which is actually at the root of everything that I believe about feminism being a lie, is because they're trying to program people to believe.
Yeah, but women kill children, Candace. Can you imagine if women could kill other women with their hands? Holy. Because most murder, I've looked into this, most murders are done, they're like fights gone wrong. So it's usually not like an intentional murder, but a guy hits another guy in the head too hard and killed.
Believe that men and women are the same. Now, I don't think that pointing to the fact that men are more aggressive than women, which is a point that you and I 1000% agree on, whether or not that manifests in the very wrong way, men harming other men, which I think they do more probably than they are beating women, men on male violence. That manifestation doesn't change the fact that men and women are just biologically hardwired different. I think it's actually proof of that. And I don't think it has anything to do with the fact of power dynamics in this country, because to the contrary, if you look at prison rates and talking about how disparities don't mean anything, the majority of overwhelming people that are in prison are male, right?
Because they don't send women to jail for crimes. You know, an example of this, I can't remember what, men get like 4 times the sentencing women do. And that doesn't include like women that do petty shoplifting and they just don't pursue it. There was a woman that literally murdered her mother with her boyfriend, and the boyfriend's in jail for life, and she got like 5-10 years. And women can't kill with their hands.
Right. There's a reason for that. So when it manifests in a good way, that male aggression, is the reason why we have men defend.
Someone's mad because I rated Candace Owens a 6. You're wrong. I rated her a 5. Facially, I'm sorry. She's a 5. I don't say this to be mean. I don't say this to be rude. It's not because I have my disagreements with Candace. It's just, look, if I was doing casting, maybe when she was younger, she was a 6, but she's like in her mid-30s. That's a 5. She's thin. So I guess in America, you could say, she would be in the top maybe 30 or 40%. But the equivalent of that is, just because the league's getting worse doesn't make you hotter, it just makes the league worse. So just because American women are fat, it doesn't make your rating higher. I say I'm a 5, right? Maybe a 4. I don't really, I'm not saying I'm the epitome of beauty here. But neither is she. You know, and you can see this because she's in conservative media. Look, if we were hot enough to be in Playboy, we'd all be in Playboy. You know, it's always very convenient. And I thought about this because I used to think, because I've never been a super, like, a dressing really provocatively person, right? And I used to think, I was like, I'm so moral. And then I thought about it and I'm like, well, it's always convenient when mids are modest. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's very convenient for a mid to be modest because we don't get as much out of being immodest. But a hot girl, if she doesn't show her knockers, like, you know, the stuff she's going to miss out on. And I had to think about it. I was like, well, I'm not going on these yachts in Miami. And I like to think I wouldn't, right? But I've never been invited. So it's really easy. And the equivalent of this is, the men that say they don't cheat. And every man that, like, I've heard say, oh, I don't cheat, they're either lying, they don't understand, they don't know they could cheat, or they literally can't cheat. Yeah, I don't care. I can look at 4, 5, 6. She's a mid, right? She's 5, facially 5. I can't see if she's got boobs or butt. I think she's pretty flat. So men prefer the curves. Anyways. Wow, you don't like Candace. Well, okay, so let me get this straight. I'm supposed to give people hotness points because I like them or don't like them? No, I gotta be objective in my ratings. Okay. No, she doesn't get a point for being married. You don't get a point in how hot you are for being married. That's not how it works. A beauty point is if you were on a web, how many swipe rights would you get on a dating app? Based on your face and your body, how many men would say would versus wouldn't? Thank you.
Us, you know, men that are willing to go to war and die for our nation. So aggression being an aspect of masculinity has nothing to do with the conversation of whether or not feminism is harming women today.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you that
we agree.
Women are biologically different.
Yes,
men are.
But I don't.
Yeah, like this is like a 3 facially. Not looking good. Not good.
What I want you to connect it to is, I guess, power. Because what I'm talking about when I say that we're existing under a matriarchy is that I believe that the social pressures politically and socially that are coming, and even within our music, if we talk about Hollywood, it's very much
that power
has become
means nothing. Like, just because like who was on the top music charts or whatever are women, okay, how many women have paid maternity leave?
Okay, that's not
okay, like how are things panning out in the family courts? Why are abusive men having access to their children? Like, why are women making less than men? Like, what? I mean, none of that means anything to me.
So that gap, obviously, I'm sure you've recognized the gender gap has been debunked so many times. It's almost foolish to debunk it again.
Well, you could say, yeah, that most women will go into jobs where they're making less, yes, but then it does answer the question of why do we not value women's labor?
Like, can you imagine if I was on this panel? I would say women are more retarded. Like, imagine if that was me. I would say, yeah, because women are dumber. Not all, not all, not all. They're not getting paid as much because they don't do as much work. Mm-hmm.
That's not valuing women's labor. It's just a reality that if you are going to be a person that aspires to become a brain surgeon, you are going to make more money than a person that aspires to do something that's, you know, like in the household.
Can we go back to the male violence question?
Yes.
Why does our country not persecute men then who are rapists?
Well, the majority of people who are in prison are men, so I don't know what you...
Because women keep lying about it. Can you imagine? They would just crash out. I go on these shows, they crash out. Yeah, maybe if we just stopped lying so much. Yeah.
You mean that we don't prosecute men that are rapists? We even prosecute people.
7% go to jail. Only 7% go to jail.
I don't know what that has to do with the question of whether or not we're living in a matriarchy or a patriarchy.
Because our government is preferential to men.
You're saying that they only like to arrest men.
No, that's not true, because the Duluth model is based on the fact that men are automatically seen in a position of power. But even some of the women that made the Duluth model, which the whole justice system is based off of. Candace, I'm giving you answers here. Which the whole justice system is based off of. Even the people that, like, one of the people that made it said that it gave preferential treatment to women. In most abusive cases, they're beating each other.
When they kill someone, but they are, our government is awarding men for raping women. I don't understand what
they're not. They don't care. Rape is effectively legal. You can literally rape a woman, and you have a very low likelihood of actually going to jail as a man.
Rape is effectively legal.
It's effectively legal. How many men are actually going to jail for rape?
I actually agree with you that in terms of sex crimes, and I don't know how you're peeling out women,
if women are so afraid of being raped, then why are they going out alone at night to party? If women are so afraid of men, why are women traveling alone across countries? Why?
I would even, and again, this has nothing to do with our argument today, but I would even say that people are not being prosecuted hard enough when we're dealing with crimes against children, period. Talking about 100%. Sexual crime.
Because even children lie about that stuff too, but I can't talk about that. I only found you a few days ago. I love your show, but sometimes it makes me so mad. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you, James. Rich, she lets them attack her individually, but she never says the conversation is about the rule and not the conversation is about the rule, not the exception, average situation. Candace Owens is the rule. When women get power and money, when women have the opportunity to, we will always pick ourselves above our family. She's not leaving the public eye when she has her family. No. Did she have kids with her college sweetheart? No. No, she had to hold out and get that conservative money. I don't mind. I'm not even gonna fault her for it. Can you blame her? If you were Candace Owens and you had the opportunity to marry into a ton of money with an attractive British guy, I mean, who could blame her? She got engaged in 30 days. Obviously, right? But my point is, she's the rule. And the rule is women will pick themselves over their money, and they use their kids and their husband to build their brand. So it's not like she's just debating conservative politics. She's using her husband and her kids to build her family and virtue signal, basically saying, I'm a good person. So that's my point.
Crimes not being prosecuted 100%. In this country is a whole other conversation, and you will not get a disagreement with me, but I think that it's wrong to say that it's somehow attached to being a woman when you know that there are so many children that are going through the exact same thing. I mean,
if men are child predators, then why are so many women getting arrested for sleeping with students?
Sentences that are tossed out for pedophiles. It's completely ridiculous.
Yeah, guys, pause.
But I don't think it has anything to do with the conversation that we're having right now. But I agree with you.
It has everything to do with it, and you're separating it to make your
time. Please return to your seat. I'm going to add 5 more minutes to this claim.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, Adam. Nice to meet you.
Yeah. So your claim is, just to be clear, that we live in a matriarchy, right?
Yes.
So I think even you'd agree that on a global level, that's obviously ridiculous when there are countries where people literally are honor killed for Instagram posts. But even if we're talking about just the US, right? We don't have paid maternity leave.
They're not going to sleep with you. That would be my response. Why are you doing this? They're not going to sleep with you. And, single mother, domineering mother, working mother, I'm sure.
Abortion is illegal in over a dozen different states. And as someone earlier was mentioning, women are overwhelmingly the victims of sexual violence and domestic abuse. So
No, they're not. They're not.
that doesn't seem like a very well-designed matriarchy where women are victims or, lacking power in so many different realms of society on like a structural level.
I just do not think that women are lacking power on a structural level because they can't, which they can, by the way, abort their children. Is that like one of your components? Is that
there's many states where abortion is illegal? Do you dispute that?
If you can't drive 5 hours to get an abortion, then you don't really want it. You don't want it that bad. You don't. You can do that on the weekends. They can mail you abortion pills. Like, I'm just sick of the excuses. You look at ladies, if you want to kill your kids so bad, you have the opportunity, go take it. I don't care anymore. I don't.
I am going to dispute that having a child is somehow something that restricts women in any capacity. Like you're saying that.
What about the ability to decide what you do with your own body?
I don't believe that I don't believe that murder is something that you should be allowed to decide.
Sure, and murder is illegal.
It's actually what you're doing to somebody else's body.
Sure,
so I'm pro-life. So the argument that, well, women will only be free if they're able.
I give up on abortion. I give up. My argument would be it's not that hard to not get pregnant. It's not. If you're so worried about being raped, get on birth control. Look.
Able to, kill off their own offspring to me is
that's a really
extremely off-colored
well, I guess if you frame it that way, everyone kind of has to agree with you. But when we're talking about abortion, when 99% take place in the first few weeks, when, there's no thalamus, there's no cortex, there's no capacity for consciousness.
You and Myron are way better than this than her. It's because once you interview a ton of people, and Myron's like, he's done way more than me, but I've just interviewed too many people. It sounds like Adam was raised by a single mom and pursued AA at his local college.
In the fetus that's developing, saying that fetus that has no capacity to be conscious, aware, anything else, should have the same rights, same bodily autonomy as a woman, that is an obvious...
Should. Look, women are going to kill their kids. I can't stop it. You guys win. You win. Is that how men feel? Is that how you guys feel? Because it has to disgust you. It disgusts me. For me personally, it just is not that hard to not get pregnant. I've had boyfriends before, I just don't think it's that difficult to not get pregnant. If you don't want to get pregnant,
you're making my point for me. That
you're actually making the point that people who are, born with tremendous disabilities should just be killed because of cognitive functions and ability.
I don't remember saying that. When did I say that?
The best argument, which again, this is sidetracked.
You're saying that
let's get back on track.
Kill people with disabilities.
Well, I'm saying that if you're saying I am saying that if you're saying that it's cognitive ability and at what stage you think
the ability to be conscious, and just so we're clear, disabled people are conscious. They're aware.
Okay. So the best argument that it is a life is the fact that you have to kill it. You have to have a procedure to kill it. Right, so you have to intervene on the development. Like
living
you said, you
human
called
cells in it, but
you
it's not
called it
conscious.
A developing life.
Sure.
If you have to go into your body and murder it, then
not
it's
disputing
murder.
that there's living human cells in a fetus.
Again, so we can just tack that off because we just have a fundamental disagreement on whether or not a child is a life.
Paid maternity leave. People have been talking.
Do you know what I would say? Men are dying in the middle of Alaska on crab fishing boats. Candace, they should have had me on this. I could argue this so much better. Crab fishing boats in Alaska. Men die to give us crab. And we're complaining because women don't get maternity leave. Logging, so we can sit on this chair right now. Yeah, you're saying, Jessica, don't murder babies. Look, I agree with you, Jessica, but I got to move on. I got to look at, when it comes to changing hearts and minds of women on that topic, I think that's a lost cause. I've explained this. You guys win. You do. I wish you guys would stop murdering your kids, but do you think I can stop you? I mean, I don't even think Jesus could stop these women from murdering their children.
Talking a lot about whether you have to be a mother, you have to work. A lot of women have to pick one or the other because in many cases, if you want to have a child.
And Candace is picking one or the other. She is. Her focus is on her career. And I'm not saying it shouldn't be. But, you know, let's just call this what it is.
There's a big gap in your resume, so getting a job after that might be super difficult. And then secondly, even in the process of having that child, being pregnant, especially in the third trimester, and then raising the child where the vast majority of the burden typically is on the mother, the workplace and our system of our economy is not tailored to make that easy for them.
I actually totally agree with you. And this gets into
maternity leave, you agree?
I don't know, actually. I'm agreeing with you that this pressure that you're describing exists for women. And I'm saying that it exists for women because of the feminists that came before who argued for women to enter the workplace. So what you're saying is the solution didn't work and it actually produced more problems. And now we have more problems and we need more governance to be able to tackle these problems. So
yeah, see, she entered into his frame. I would reject that that's even a problem. Look at, you have the right to not get pregnant like the men. That's what I would say. I would say, look, women have the right to not get pregnant just like men do. You can get on birth control and not get pregnant. Abortion is legal. I'm not going to go back and forth with you about my opinions on it because it is legal. So if you make a choice to have a child, which you don't have to make, that is the trade-off that comes with it. You're not entitled to maternity leave. There are men that are on crab fishing boats in Alaska that would love to be home with their kids, but they can't. And those are men that risk their lives where one guy on the boat dies every ship. Anyways. Yeah, it's a lost cause. We need to move on. Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Any system that's forcing women to make certain decisions, I just wouldn't call that feminism to begin with. Women should have the option to choose, do I want to be a stay-at-home mom? Do I want to work? Do I have some mix of both?
Right.
That's the entire point here.
But you are also making an argument that if you are a woman who does run a business and does have employees, that they should be forced to pay them maternity leave.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so let me
That's like saying taxes are forced. Yeah, there's certain things the government does to regulate our economy to ensure equality and justice and better outcomes.
Okay, but just so you know, when you do that, like to a small business owner,
every other developed country does.
What you are arguing for is supporting big corporations and taking out the little guys because
I'm arguing for supporting people that want to be mothers and also work at the same time. The mechanism we do that with, it can be subsidies, taxes.
You guys can't just keep this. You can't say that we can't have we can't get down to the economics of what it actually implies, right?
I have an economics degree, and I can tell you if there's a small business that...
God help us. You have an economics degree? Oh, my God. Oh, what are they teaching these? I'd say man, but that's a woman in schools.
That can't afford to pay maternity leave. The government might probably subsidize them and help cover the costs.
I first saw you getting the business on trigonometry right after they tongue blasted Sam Harris's lying ass without an apology. Yeah, trigonometry is on my dead to me list in the most respectful way. I have a shit list forever. And maybe one day I'll go through it with you guys. I'll give you my side of things. But, then you bring up the past. I'm like a woman. You just got to move on. But they are on my shit list forever. They're one of them.
Where is the government getting money from? This is
tax revenue. I mean,
right, exactly. So from us, just to be clear, from us, and this is the thing that gets me about all of these debates. Yeah. The magic solution that everybody has is that we just need to tax the government more.
Every other developed country has paid maternity leave.
But it's not magic, as in the money is coming.
Magical countries.
The money is coming from you. It's coming from us. So you're sitting here
that's
saying,
how taxes work.
Yes, we should be raising taxes. Yeah. Okay, and this is the entire problem is that the government is already taxing homes times 2, and people are already struggling with what's being taken taken out of their taxes.
We're not taxing capital gains properly or corporate profits properly
Sure, you
or
have
high
something
income properly.
that there's a reason that we should be taxing more here, there.
It's an
The point
efficiency
is that
problem.
the reason
Don't you guys
why
want, like,
family.
government-
What do you, my question would be like, what do you know about taxes? You got some degree? Like, I even, like, I wouldn't even go down that, like, rabbit hole.
Are having
maybe bring in more revenue to help women be mothers? Like,
what I'm saying is that you are just creating a cyclical argument. You're basically saying that women want to be able to have it all. Women cannot have it all because the government.
the choice to do what they'd like.
Okay, but you're saying.
Women can have it all when they outsource it to babysitters and nannies. Yep. And a daycare. So.
Women should have the choice to have it all. Okay, so you're
That's
saying.
a really interesting way of putting like what you're. Do you have it all right now, where you're working and you're also a mother? Is that having it all?
I'm saying that it's not possible.
Yeah, she does. I bet she'll run for office someday. God help us. God help us.
For women to have it all. It is impossible.
Okay, what do you have?
And that's one of the,
whatever that is what I would want other women to have as well, which is the flexibility to work a job and also raise kids if they'd like.
No, but that's exactly. You guys keep arguing that what people want is more flexibility. So you're acknowledging that right now, with feminism on fire, we are agreeing. Women are going into the workforce. Like I'm just kind of using a hyperbolic expression. Like feminism is everywhere. We are arguing that women need to have more opportunities. Women need to have more rights. They've taken that. Now you have.
So feminism won. So what now? They won. It's going to get worse, not better. Unfortunately. Yeah.
The majority of people that are graduating with college degrees are in fact women. Men are committing suicide at a higher rate than women. We're looking around the world.
Feminism also would push for like increased awareness of men's mental health. So like that's
fine. Great. You love feminism. That's great. We already know that we get it.
Most Americans agree with me, by the way.
Actually,
like women should have paid maternity leave.
Culture
if you go issue by issue and by values, they might not associate with the term feminism because people like you have made it toxic. But the actual values that undergird feminism
you will move
are
the goalposts,
popular.
and then when they begin taxing so that we can account for paid maternity leave for 3 months, which basically means a small business owner has to not have an employee while having to pay months and months and months. Like the person's not there. They're not actually.
Small business doesn't have the revenue to cover paid maternity leave. The government would probably subsidize them to make up the cost.
No, I actually think that the way things were made more sense, where we had an environment where you could afford to take care of children with just one person bringing in income in the house.
Is that possible in the current environment?
You can obviously.
When things are going to get way more expensive with these tariffs as well, like it's not going to be easy to afford anything in the coming years.
Is it going to happen overnight? No, but I think we need to be realistic about the fact.
Kids aren't as expensive. I would probably prep for that question, but I would have numbers written out about how much kids cost if you take out the expensive things that women's taste is. It's living in these overpriced houses. It's going to these expensive schools. It's a lot of the costs are just stuff women want. But I don't really care. Like, don't have a kid then.
That the first thing didn't work, right? The entire
What is the
argument.
first thing?
The first thing was women entering the workforce is going to make everybody happier and richer. That was the.
The idea is that women having the
plan.
choice to enter the workforce is better than them being forced to not do that.
Okay.
That's the argument.
Okay, that actually is not the argument at all. The argument was that women would become, and I'm talking about what the feminists got ahead of, and this is why women.
Like this imaginary Twitter feminist, but like right now you're talking to me, and that's not the argument.
I'm not actually debating an imaginary Twitter feminist. I'm speaking to you, and I have no idea why you're becoming increasingly more rude when I'm just rebutting your points that you're bringing
you're not
up.
responding to my point.
I am responding to your point. I'm saying that you're creating a cyclical argument where you keep saying that the thing that you just did that you said was going to be enough. What we actually need is for women to just enter the workforce. Oh, women are in the workforce, and actually
that's not enough. I'm saying we don't have enough because we don't have paid.
When is enough? I just want to. I would flip this and say, what problem have we not solved for women? Women. We have Roombas now. We have dishwashers. We have air fryers. We have access to abortion. We have birth control. We have women's shelters. What more do women want? What do we need to get through for it to be enough? Where we can say, okay, ladies, we're happy now.
telling you that you're also not going to have enough because you're going to then be complaining when you get that paid maternity leave.
I'm not
because
going to get maternity leave.
Okay. Well, they are arguing for family paid leave. So
that's even better. Yeah.
Okay. So you might get.
Do you think fathers should also be around to help raise children?
I think who's going to work if everybody goes home every time a child is born?
Not everyone's going to have a kid at the same time.
Pause. All right.
Everyone will have a male.
All right, stay-at-home mom here. You can definitely live on one income, but there are sacrifices you may have to lose. Move to a lower cost of living state, smaller house, no getting your nails done, your hair done, no eating out, and maybe share a car. Yeah, that's my gut feeling, is it's just people want to go to like events and whatever, and I just don't, you know what I mean? It's just like, you know, Jesus couldn't save the world. Why on earth would I think I could? You know what I mean?
Partner. Yeah, nice talking to you as well. My final claim is that feminism has made things easier for men.
Oh my gosh, feminism has made things easier for men. So this is going to show a hole in Candace's argument. She only sees the top 20% of men. She does not see lower level men.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Jenny.
Candace.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
You said that feminism is easier for men, or is...
It's made things, I think, easier in society for men. Yeah. Now men...
That is the dumbest thing she's ever said, ever. Men are, you know, committing suicide at higher rates, but more men have died from suicide than all of the world wars combined. But you think that feminism has made things better for men?
Don't have to commit, and they're being offered sex from women for free. So they have to actually effectively do less and be motivated less, because feminism has a kind of...
Yeah, but more men got sex in general. Well, I guess it depends. We don't really have how sex-filled the marriages were back then, but before, you know, and this is what I would say, women wanted to be whores. Men, in all honesty, most of them would probably have married their high school sweetheart, and then they get crashed out when she goes and gets someone better from college or the city, whatever.
I've insisted on this culture of sex and hooking up, and I think that has been a net negative for women.
On good faith, I just want to say, I think you're approaching this with like the best interest for women. Like, you think that is negative for women and harmful. And I think in some aspects we can agree to that. Yeah. I do think that there are some aspects of sex work or OnlyFans or whatnot.
Because what Candace is saying is, because this is the thing, women without like female game, they're not likable, they're not charming. They see sex as a weapon to get what they want. Women that are charming can figure out how to get what they want from men, even if they give them sex. They just provide more value. But what she does is she said, like, let's think about the sex before marriage thing. Okay, you wait till marriage to have sex. Is marriage this magical thing that's going to make you a nicer, more likable person? So if you have sex before marriage and you're just a nice, likable person, he'll marry you in the long run. If you pick someone that's got a chance of monogamy, there's some men that they'll never be monogamous. But, women like her have a tendency to see like sex as a weapon to get what they want because they don't have the female charm like Bonnie Blue has. Bonnie Blue has no quality. She'll get married. She will. Promise to God, as we showed.
That maybe men are definitely the huge consumers of, but if we are so concerned with women putting that out for free, it's charged, right? They're making money off of it. Then why are we not putting the onus more on men for being the one that is in control of that demand, right? So we can take away the supply or, condemn it all we want. But if there's no onus on men to be the consumers of said products, then...
Because sex is a need. And I got into this debate with Candace. Women don't like corn, and it's not because they have any concern for men. It's because they know that men have a very high sex drive. And anything that takes away our power from beauty makes, like, it loses power when men can just open up Cornhub.
And wouldn't you think that would solve the issue that you're bringing up?
Yeah, I actually agree with you on that. And I really get to that. I want to be very clear. When I say that I'm anti-feminist, this does not mean that I do not also criticize men. I think that's something that people get very wrong.
Okay.
1000% agree. I believe the problem was seeded by the feminist movement. I think.
Yeah, but women do step one. They sign up to be corn stars. That's step one. Make the corn. 2, consume the corn. Who's worse, the dealer or the drug consumer? The dealer.
The sex revolution and telling women, I mean, literally.
I can't stand it. Candace, come on. You saw what was going on in college. Nobody told women to do anything. Women want to gluck and be hoes. Like, women want to do that.
Were protesting. They didn't have their shirts on. And this used to be just, your grandparents couldn't even imagine this, like women walking down the street and having their boobs out and their butts out on Instagram. And it created an environment where men then had to work harder for a woman's affection, for a woman to take her clothes off, sex education in the classroom. There's this huge myth that
the only men women make work are men they don't want. Women do not make men wait that they like and want to be with. They don't. They're not special women that are different or whatever. Women that make you wait don't like you that much. They don't.
People were just doing it like, oh, we might as well teach them because the children are just doing it. Actually, before they introduced sex education, the majority of high school graduates were graduating with their virginity intact.
Right. Yeah, that's what the girls are going to say when sex is a prerequisite for marriage. Right.
And then within 10 years of sex education, we saw a reversal. So I'm saying feminism actually seeded the problem. And now the problem is bad. And it's all.
In 1991, 50% of high schoolers reported having sex. That number decreased to 30% in 2021. Yeah, it's going down because women are sharing the men. And you got fat women that just aren't participating.
It's also bad for men. It's harmful for men to be constantly exposed to pornography and soft pornography. And I think it actually, in many ways, emasculates men.
Okay.
But I would say they are the main social benefactors of that culture because, well, first and foremost, as we're talking about women who have to kind of pick one or the other or try to manage both, and can we have it all? Like, no, you can't have it all. On a day where I really feel like
I don't see why you can't have it all, to be honest. I don't think you can be like a CEO, but you're just not going to convince me. And can the housewives on this app, maybe, there's someone in the comments who said, she's a housewife. Can you, maybe you can't do super intense meals, but I cook, all right, and if I wanted to, I could wake up in the morning. You put bacon in the oven at 400 degrees. It's like 15 minutes. You put that in the oven. You hard boil some eggs or you could scramble. That's even faster. I think that would all take. And you put some toast in the oven. Okay, you got breakfast. That takes like 20 minutes. Let's say 30 minutes. You throw them in the dishwasher. That doesn't really take that long. You rinse, throw in the dishwasher. Okay. Then after, you make peanut butter and jelly, apples, and granola bars. I'm just walking through this, okay? Let's say you have a big family and it's for 4 kids. You could be a teacher. You can take your kids you could drop your kids off at school at like 7 or 8 and then go. And also in the morning, you can do a crock pot and you can put some baby back ribs, and then I could just make like a big thing of rice for the week. So, okay, you get reheated rice, but is anyone going to die from reheated rice? Or you can make pasta real quick with it. You can put chicken in the, the vegetables. You can make mushrooms that doesn't asparagus. Protein bars instead of granola bar. And I think if I do the calories on that, that's not. I mean, you could do turkey and cheese for, I mean, look, I'm not saying it's like a gourmet meal, but you could even on Fridays or Saturdays do a more intense meal. Maybe you put dinner at like 7. Rice cookers are easy. Yeah, do you know, or let's say you forget to do the crock pot in the morning. Okay, let me think of a healthy. You could do steaks. Steaks don't take long at all. Asparagus, steaks, and rice. Am I missing something? Now, I know everyone's like, well, what about cleaning? Well, I mean, wouldn't you want a smaller house then than the women are? I really don't like, okay, if the house is a little dirty, I'm not saying like disgusting, but is it really going to be, you have weekends, like if you work a teaching job, let's say, or 9 to 5, you'd probably have to figure out, because the kids get off at 3, so the 2-hour window you'd have to figure out. But if you could find someone to take the kids home from school that's like trustworthy, I think that would be the one thing, is the 3 to 5. But yeah, because like I could see if you have like a really big house, that would be hard to keep clean. But like I personally, I grew up in a really big house, and I've never wanted a big house because I'm just not a neat enough person. I mean, they even have like meals you can put in the microwave now. So I don't know, like there are times when I think that a lot of these now, let's say most women have 2 kids tops. So I'm thinking, like, let's say you have 4. Now, I could see you have to spend a decade, like, probably raising. So I'd imagine the kids under 3, like, you're not putting them in school yet. When do kids go to school? 4? I think it's 4 or 5. So yeah, when the kids are young, but that's like, okay, let's say up to 5 or 6. The rest of the, so if you have a lot of kids, you're going to have that period when the kid's young. But, and I don't know, I don't watch a lot of I haven't watched a baby in a while. Nobody's having kids, you know. But I'm just asking the question. Even a market, let's say you worked from home and did something, not a full-time, but even part-time, you can't. Yep, 4 to 5. Now, I know you guys are thinking, and I had this thought, it's better for the kids if they're homeschooled. And I really thought about this, and I'm like, most moms are crazy. That sounds like torture. That really sounds like torture to me. Preschool is 4. And then, I don't know, there's pros and cons. I'm not against homeschooling, but I would have to think about the drawbacks of being different than all the other kids. I just would wonder if you would be as socially adjusted. But I'm not, she says she's clueless. Okay, what am I clueless about? I mean, the other woman in the chat saying 4 or 5. That's when they go to preschool. Now, I could see when the babies are young, and my grandma had 13 kids, so obviously she's not gonna go work, but they're having 1 to 2. Yeah, homeschooling is the only way forward. Well, that's not true. I know a lot of kids that turned out fine in public school. I'm not against it. Look, either way is fine, but I'm saying the average woman is putting their kids in school. The average woman is not homeschooling. So that's an exception. That's not the rule. I knew 2 people that were homeschooled, 2 families. So that's not what they're doing, right? Anyways. Can the housewives in the chat tell me up to what age, like the kids are, I would say like up to like 3 or 4, they're like a lot and then they get easier. Cause that I don't know. My grandma told me at like 7 or 6, the kids started working on the farm, So anyways, no, I'm not for like the daycare or whatever, but I mean, you could even get a different job. But do you see where I'm going with this? If she was a teacher, she could get off at the same time the kids get off.
I gave a little bit more to my career. I ache because I go, okay, but like now I feel like I didn't give the same amount to my children. And it's a constant push and pull and it never feels enough. It really doesn't feel enough.
So like to a degree, I
Bruh.
think that feminism does benefit men. I think that it allows men to be more emotionally intelligent, allows them to understand what that looks like. And
I homeschooled 2 sons back in 1990. The schools today are so whacked. Okay. Yeah, look, I'm not against it either. I'm just saying most women aren't doing that. They're not, so. Most women are having 1 kid. They're having 1. 2 tops.
And also be able to connect with other people, right? But at the same time, there's so much work that feminism has done for women that to say that it benefits men more, I don't think is an accurate statement. For example, Title IX has made it very...
Yeah, it has not made men's lives easier. I mean, men don't have the right to their children in the womb, outside of the womb. Men now get old wives, whores. That's what they're picking for wives.
Very possible for women to go to college, 600% more so, right? And I think that that is a huge benefit that we can credit to the feminist movement. Though I understand your point, though, of trying to say that like sex work is harmful for women and more beneficial for men because they're benefiting from it the most. But at the same time, if you think they're also suffering from it, does that not contradict your point?
Yeah, so
I'd actually almost like to homeschool because sometimes I feel like I can't read that well. And if and they say when you teach, you like learn better. So maybe I'd like, I don't know. I'll cross that bridge when I get there.
I disagree on the fact that, and we do agree that more women are going to college, more women than men are graduating with college degrees. And despite that, people are saying that we still live under a patriarchy. Women are free to start their own companies. Women are free to pay women whatever they want to pay. Women could hire, and in some cases do hire all women. And so I don't.
From that goes terrible. Terrible idea.
Really understand, which wasn't your argument to be fair, the idea that even with all of that freedom, women are still not able to achieve what men are able to achieve. I think college education actually has increased women's stress. And I'm talking about in terms of how expensive it is. And I know you're gonna then say, well,
I don't care. That's what I would say. I don't really care that it increased women's stress. Life is hard. Who cares?
Solution to that is we have to then move the goalpost, and I'm guessing here.
No,
but like college should be free. Everything should be free. He thinks. Well, I think we just need more free stuff, and obviously nothing's free. We're just going to tax us.
If I could interject,
100%.
I just want to say, I think the issue that we keep coming back to is that you believe that women would be happiest in the home where they don't have to work, and I think most people in general probably wouldn't want to work anyways. But I think the main issue that we keep avoiding is that this is not an issue created by feminism.
Women want to work just in case it doesn't work out. Okay, that's how women feel. Just in case you're a beta. Just in case she finds someone better or hotter. So yeah.
This is an issue created by capitalism.
Yeah, so I've heard this argument that
my wife had time to successfully keep a 2-year affair while keeping the house.
It's an issue created by capitalism.
But you don't agree? You think feminism is the greater issue than the system
think that now the issue
more money to live?
Well, we have to spend more money to live,
right.
I think in large part because feminists got duped by the government. And I think we just keep further enslaving ourselves to the government. I'm not a person who believes in big government. And yet you find that feminists are constantly like, well, we can deal with the college issue. We just need more government. We can deal with the, needing to have more benefits. We just need more government. So it's like, okay, let's just tax every household 100%. And I'm trying to prevent that. And I'm saying that there was a time in America, and what's aspirational for me is I was, raised in part by my grandparents. They were very happy. They were just, I lived in that environment of what that looked like. And I think for many of people who didn't grow up there, feminism has taught us, and I say this as someone who had to take Feminism 101 courses when I was in college, that it was like this nightmare, and people weren't happy, and people were suffering, and women were
suffering.
People, were being forced, and that there weren't actually these things that just marriages that worked, that the women actually weren't disempowered by being the CEOs of their household.
Well, allowing women to have more choice and freedom and agency to leave.
Sorry, you've been voted out by the majority.
I did enjoy this conversation. Very respectful.
She was, see, that girl came off as more feminine. She did. It's probably, I would put her at like a 6, the last girl.
I was thinking that a lot of your claims
7
are very contradictory, saying that we live in a matriarchy, that men benefit from feminism.
You know what? I'm going to say 6, but she's young, 7.
More. I would like to understand why, again, you think that men benefit from feminism more?
Basically, because men don't have to commit to women. Men are still able to do what they're doing, and they are allowed to basically step away from all of the responsibilities of what it really meant to be a man and lead a household.
Another tradcon feminist telling you what you need to do to be a man.
And that's in large part, I think, due to the sexual revolution.
I mean, is it really bad that we don't have to give men the chase?
More men want wives than women want to be wives. Women don't want to be married. Women don't want to be in long-term relationships.
Don't they have gratification from chasing us? Like, it's a hunter versus prey situation to me. So I feel like a lot of relationships, especially back then, were based on trying to get to home run, like, very fast. And now that we have the freedom to not commit and not tie ourselves to one man for the rest of our life, I just don't necessarily think that's bad. I just don't think the revolution has decreased our value. We're not chewed gum. We're people who value connection. And sex doesn't always have to have this deep meaning. It is just connection and intimacy between two people who trust each other. And why do we have to deny women that gratification? Like, men, you say, that are wired to want that. Why not women? Why?
Women want it more than men. Women are the ones that fought to be whores, not men.
Well, we again, I go back to just our basic biological differences. There was a really interesting book that was done by a biophysicist. He, I think, recently passed away, named Edward O. Wilson, where he just sort of breaks down the biological arguments. Basically, he looks in the wild to see the behavior of animals. His thesis is just that you basically can never beat your own biology. And then he kind of compares it to what we see here as just humans and our social interactions, and things that have been abundantly clear when you look at every civilization over time, whether it's from, 400 BC to LA today. What are these habits that you can see that never go away? And people coming together and starting families is one of these things, because we are biologically wired to find.
Yeah, but it was usually one guy just going around impregnating a lot of women. Then we're like, oh, we can't have that because these other men are going to get mad. So let's do monogamy. And the women are like, no, I can't be with an average guy. I can't.
Find a family to settle down and to have children. And I think when you have women that are going out and they're giving all of the goods up for free.
The goods?
The goods.
The goods?
I'm not going to say.
Yeah, women hate whores because it raises the price of commitment. Because a guy's way less likely to give you commitment if you can just go bang a whore.
The goods up for free. Men are
women
not.
Want the goods for free from men, and that we are very happy with those.
Do that.
Women do want it for free from men.
And there's
connections. We're not sockeye salmon. We're not made to breed and have families and then die.
You are welcome to do that. I'm just saying that when it comes time for you to find a partner, you may find yourself in a circumstance where men don't value you as high, because men like you spoke to, men like to compete. They like to feel like they've won something.
I'd like to deprive men of that.
No, she'll still find somebody. As long as she does it before 32. She'll be fine. American women are fat. Thin women have a lot of power. Beauty gets you on the date. Eventually there's a taker.
Because they don't need to have that.
Sure.
That's actually
but you did bring up
yeah, and that's what you say, that men are, essentially predatory, and we have the goods that we have to keep from them.
Oh, I didn't mean the goods in a bad way.
But that's such an objectifying way, the goods, the grocery goods.
Honestly, I think that's just kind of
we don't have value
colloquial
in value
songs
in
today.
Soul.
I think
we have value apart from how many people we sleep with, how many, you also devalue.
Yeah, and I actually understand what she's saying. Being likable is way more important. Men, if you get over their attraction floor, I'll tell you a couple things. One, it's most men don't have the access or the tools to really find out about a woman's past, and it's easier to get away with it, I'll say. That's one. Two, and most men don't have the time to go through all this stuff. Number two, most men, how do I put this? Most men, once they have you in a rotation or whatever, like the guys that are getting laid and women want for more long-term commitment, they're going to pick the girl that would be the best mother and is the most pleasant to be around over purity. If you're a virgin or you've slept with one guy or two guys, but you're a bitch, it doesn't matter. It doesn't. Thanks, Robert. I love it when you guys super.
Education for women. And I think that's very interesting because you're also a very educated woman. Mm-hmm. And in a lot of ways, this is just an observation. You devalue yourself a lot.
I definitely do not feel like I'm devaluing myself.
Make him a sandwich?
Yeah. Yes, which is the title of my book.
It's not that hard to make a sandwich. It's really not. That's it. That's all we got to do. We need to raise the bar.
Yes, feed your men and everything. Feed the people that you love. Because family isn't defined just by your partner or your kids. Family is community, and you should care about your community. And understanding that, I just don't think you really care about the community that much when you're pushing this rhetoric of devaluing women so much to stay in the kitchen, stay within.
Well, it's valuable to who? If you want to look at who's valuable to women, it's women that break the slut barrier. And, basically when women act worse, it makes it easier to get away with stuff. So that's what's valuable to women. What's valuable to men is likable, pretty, not a whore. That's pretty much it. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Then the cooking, whatever that guy wants. But really those three things it starts with.
In the homes. And also saying that they're wasting money on college when education is very important. There's a lot of female scientists.
Pause.
There's
You've been
so much
voted
that I
out.
would say.
Sorry. You've been voted out.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
What's your name?
I'm Zola Stone.
Very nice to meet you, Zola. You have very pretty eyes.
Thank you.
Why would she? Oh, she's actually pretty. Why would you get a face tattoo? Okay.
Oh, so you keep talking about OnlyFans and Kim Kardashian and, well, I do OnlyFans.
Okay.
And I'm a stripper as well.
God help us. That's what I would say. Oh my God, I have to argue with a stripper today. That's what I would say. She's going to be polite and be like, why do we care what a stripper has to say? I would say production, next. Next. We never used to take opinions from the bottom ring of society. Next. Next.
So you're in the sex industry?
Well, I'm mainly a recording artist, but I do that to fund the music.
Okay.
But, you're saying basically that we kind of devalue ourselves, but at the same time, I'm celibate. I still consider myself a woman of God. And so
I would just say next. Producers, can we please move on to the next person? Because I just can't deal with this.
You know, not all of us are just out there just, oh, hey, showing the goods.
Oh my God, your job is to be hot and you have this gut.
You know, like we do respect our bodies still. So I don't like that you kind of putting us all in one box. Because of that.
So we have to, in order to have debates, we have to make generalizations. Of course, there can be some exceptions to the rule. But what I'm trying to understand is how can you say that you're not, you know, giving up your body if you are a stripper?
Well, because I said I'm celibate. I still want to get married. I still want to have kids. And
she will get married and have kids. Someone will do it. Mm-hmm.
Some of us, it's hard for us to have kids. And I've also dealt with sexual abuse since a child.
I doubt it.
You know, so I wasn't doing any sexual work as a child, you know, and still went through things like that.
Yeah. So I first want to say, perfectly sympathetic to everything you're saying, especially.
I first want to say I don't believe anything you're saying, but I guess I'll go with it. They couldn't handle me in one of these debates.
If you come from an environment where you've lived through something when you're a kid, it makes it infinitely harder. And it's actually a reason why so many people turn to sex work because they.
I don't think it's an excuse at all. I know men from war-torn countries, and they decided to get a job.
Don't have that structure at home that gives them, I think, other options. But would you agree with me that if you could, like, that wouldn't have...
I went to college for music production.
For music production.
I went to LA recording school.
Okay, so did you decide to be a stripper because of economic restraint or because of freedom?
For freedom. You know, we want the choice to do whatever we want with our bodies.
Yeah, money gives you freedom. Yep.
Okay.
You know, I don't think it matters if you do want to dress how you want to dress. That doesn't mean, oh, you can, you know, sexually abuse or sexually harass.
Okay. Do you think the men that are being brought into the strip clubs to watch you, do you think that they're walking away and going, I did that because that woman was empowered to take off her clothes? Or do you think that they're actually
She's providing more of a service because she's actually giving her youth to men, and prudes don't.
Valuing women.
No, I get it. I used to be that hypocrite, you know. I said things that I said I would never do anything like that, you know? Like, I totally get that. But some people just want to go to the club and have a good time.
Yeah, I think most of the people who are making those decisions are doing it because they're dealing with addictions themselves. I think you're worth more than taking your clothes off. I think that if you wanted to have a career in music, you wouldn't have to take your clothes off to do that. And I think that it's sad.
Yeah, I would just say you're just probably not talented enough to be a musician, because if you were, you would make money. So I think it's good you went into sex work. That's what I would say. I think it's good. Someone's got to do it, and I'm glad it's not me. So thank you for your service.
That you've been...
Every story is different.
Every story is different, but I do think that,
you know,
we can make a generalization.
I was at that point where I was going to college. I was working 3 jobs. I used to be a nurse. So you just don't know the situations. You don't know how life is going to turn out. It's going to be ups and downs. But no, I didn't want...
Did you say her name? I want to know. It's her Instagram. Should we watch her mixtape? What was her name? Can someone look at their name, and at the end we'll look at her. We'll see if her mixtape is any good.
I do it, but in my situation and things that I went through, it's something that it just...
But I'm actually really glad that you said, no, I didn't want to do it. And you were put in a situation where you had to do it, because I think that's really honest. And I think the problem that I find with feminism is that it's a dishonest movement.
All right, guys, pause. It's been voted out by the majority. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not judging.
I am judging. I'm judging your music career as not that good. But well, can someone, Doug MPA, can you get her name so I can check out her page at the end?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Catherine, Candace.
You brought up a book about that we're going to biology, and that biology is what we should organize society on based on like what skills men are good at.
I can restate what I said. There is a book, and the argument that's being made is that you can't outthink your biology is the easiest way to say it. So feminism, I would say, is a movement where they're trying to outthink biology, meaning that all we have to do is this, and that, and then magically we're going to be transformed, and that desire within us to want to start a family is just going to like die, or we're going to be happier doing this thing. And I think the answer to that is no.
Right. I would argue that our biology does not have as much of an effect on the things that we choose to do with our careers, with our life choices, as you think it does. Our closest ancestors are chimps and bonobos. Bonobos are matriarchal, chimps are patriarchal. So, and our previous societies have run egalitarian for millennia. It's not been this inherent desire for men to rule a certain way and women to rule another way. It has been egalitarian, it's been matriarchal, it's been patriarchal because there are things that go into effect, like your situation, your personality, that make you better at doing something than just your biology. I know many quiet, nerdy men that would not be good leaders, and I know many strong women, and vice versa. Like, it does not...
I don't know any women that would be good leaders. I'm sure they exist, I just don't know them.
Matter as your testosterone, the hormones you emit, is not going to have as much of an effect as I think you think it does.
I totally think it does. And so that's why, let's getting back to college, since I'm assuming you support women going to college.
Yeah.
Can you explain why there is, when they can freely choose, why there is such a difference in the majors that women choose versus the majors that men choose when they get to college?
Well, I think it's also important to note that things are changing, and there's like many initiatives to get more women into STEM, to get women into higher paying career fields. When women have been kept out of these fields for so long, it's a slow and steady race to get them there. It's not that women are not choosing them. They're slowly learning that this is okay for them to choose. There's more women in STEM, there's more lawyers, there's more women. Women are making up strides to those positions. So it's not like they're sedentary and they're staying in these humanities or arts fields.
I don't think you're being honest. I think did you go to college?
I mean, I'm in college. I think I know that
women aren't, it's not because they're not pressured. It's because when quite literally they say, what are you interested in? Women flock to certain things. They just do. We do. We as a whole do. It tends to be. And
less work. Women don't want to do as much work. We want the easy stuff, not the hard stuff. The men want to make money. We want to have fun. That's really it.
And this is because we are biologically wired. And even when a child is born, when a woman, like a female a child versus a male child, the girls start speaking faster and they speak more words. Just a fact, right? For the rest of their lives. Like my daughter started speaking, and this is not anecdotal, but I'm giving you an anecdotal example of something that is a real fact.
Yeah, because we never shut the fuck up.
So there's just a biological proclivity there that women like communication. And you see that followed all the way, as an example, into college. Women are drawn toward these careers that are compassionate, emotional, and communicative, which is why you'll see women flooding journalism. That's why even when you see women that are finding success, they are typically in careers that are communicative and compassionate. Women that will say, I want to do psychology, I want to do children's psychology. And so even at the same time that women are saying that they're running away from their biology, so to speak, they are still exhibiting that they very much believe in these determined biological characteristics that I think are something that's just never going to go away.
Right, but I would also bring up that the way that young girls are given dolls, young boys are put in sports. These things that kids learn at a very early age are very...
I was put in sports and I still can't shut the fuck up.
impactful in what children like and pursue in the future. It's not simply that I don't think there's a biological gene that women like fashion and men don't. That's why we do see men in fashion. That's why there's actually at the top of all these fashion houses, a lot of men are in successful positions in fashion. The way in which you teach a children.
You're not here for women, but you're here because you want the 19th Amendment abolished. Well, you're going to be waiting the rest of your life because that's never going to happen.
And to explore creativity and to play. And what we put women in. We put women in pink rooms and little girls in pink rooms and boys in blue rooms. That has an effect.
So, and I'll tell you why I disagree. And I know because I had my children back to back that there's a blur here. So I never had to separate them and say, you play with this, you play with that. They were growing up with their toys. I mean, 1 year apart, my daughter and my son. They just are interested in different things. And this is one of the I think, lies of feminism and when you actually have children. There may be some exceptional child, but I am telling you, my boy's first word was car. He is obsessed with trucks. He's obsessed with cars. I did not do that. I don't like having to answer his questions about cars. I don't like having to answer his questions about trucks because my biological proclivities are not designed. I'm just not.
Because you're more retarded. Because we are more. I can't say what I want to say. I can't say what I want to say. Men think about more useful things than we do, unfortunately. I wish I could be just like my father. Such a great guy.
Feeling passionate about engineering, wanting to know how everything works. You don't recognize that. And this is, I think, one of the worst harms of.
Yeah, women speak 3 words, men speak 1 word. And it's because men do things, women talk. It's like amazing. I have a talk show. My dad's the one who should have a talk show. But he's too busy doing things. Do you know what I mean? My dad's the one, and it's so funny because he just thinks he couldn't do media or any of this stuff, and I beg him. He's so cool. He's so cool. I wish I could show you guys my dad because he is that cool. Anyone that's met him in person, he is that cool. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. I introduced my father as the coolest guy ever. And then he'll always say to me, he's always like, I've made a lot of mistakes in life. I'm not perfect. I'm like, damn near none. Will Dad ever come on? Never.
Feminism, because I was a feminist when I was in college, or I
Of course she was. It's convenient.
At least thought I agreed with the movement because you don't have the family yet. So when they make these arguments that
Doug MPA's met him. He's that cool, right? He's so cool.
That you're making, you think that that's real. You think, oh, well, it's just because you're not giving the child the butt.
My dad told me to give up on the abortion argument years ago. And I was like, no, Dad, it's so wrong. We got to fight. 3 years later, you're right. They win. Yeah.
The Barbie doll, that they don't love Barbie dolls. And that's not a reality. We are just quite literally different.
Sorry, I'm so sorry.
All right, we're done. We're done. That one. All right, we're going to check out. All right, make sure you take out. All right, I'm going to wait for a second so they actually take my screen off. They've been taking their damn time recently. Let me wait. Are we off, Doug MPA?
We're off.
All right, thank you. No offense. Okay. All right. Here's the Instagram of the stripper. All right. Oh my God. All right. Let's see this girl's mixtape. We can bring it up now. Her music. All right. Let's objectively rate her music. Okay. All right. Here we go. I hope this doesn't copyright me, but it's a risk we're going to have to take. We're just going to play like 5 seconds and stop. This is terrible. That's too much auto-tune for me. Let's see a different one. Ghost.
Yeah. I saw good cause I pull up in a ghost Rolls Royce. Adios, bitch, I'm gone. Like a ghost.
I'm in a Rolls Royce, but bitch, I'm gone like a ghost. Okay.
I'm like a ghost, like a ghost. Niggas want a ghost. It's all good, cause I pull up in a ghost Rolls Royce. Adios, bitch, I'm gone. Bitch, like a ghost.
Okay, I liked this one a little better, but like good. If you're watching this in the replay and it's muted, it's because I got copyright. All right, let's see her. Now the question is the song good? Can I shimmy to it? Can I shimmy?
Mama didn't raise no dummy. I work hard, not lucky. I'm Chucky.
I'm just not feeling it. I tried the shimmy. I'm not feeling the shimmy. Oscar, stop simping. That was not good. This all sucks. All right. Well, on that note, she did OnlyFans for nothing because she's not good at music. My song was way better. My mixtape slapped, okay? You can look it up. Pearl Davis on Spotify. It's We Don't Party Like We Used to and Addictive. I'm not even going to play. You guys, I've played it before on the show, but if you're interested, I do have a Spotify and it's better than this. Anyways, guys, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Please make sure you like the video on your way out and subscribe to the channel. It really helps. If you guys want, go to pearlinvite.com. We're making a comprehensive YouTube course where I actually will teach you, if you want to start a panel show, how if you want to do outsource editing, if you want to hire an editor overseas, I teach you how to find them, thumbnails, titles. It's going to take me a minute because I want it to be very comprehensive. But if you apply to pearlinvite.com, you can be part of a lifelong learning program. So it's like a one-time buy and you're in it for life. So anyways, guys, make sure you like the video on your way out, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys next time.